In this video, we're going to tell the story of a snowboarder who was buried alive under 6 feet of snow and the unbelievable chain of events that led to a stranger finding him just minutes before he would have suffocated. On Friday, March 3rd, 2023, the Mount Baker ski area in Washington was a paradise for powder hounds. A massive storm had just blanketed the legendary slopes with feet of pristine, untouched snow. For Ian Steger, a 40-year-old real estate agent and a lifelong devotee of Mount Baker, it was the kind of day he lived for. Growing up in nearby Bellingham, he'd been on these slopes since he was 2 years old. On this Friday, he was with 3 friends, all experienced riders, equipped with avalanche gear and the confidence that comes from years of navigating this terrain. Their plan was simple: slip under the ropes into a familiar side country zone for the kind of thrilling deep powder runs. At the same time, another man was making his way to the slopes, Francis Zuber, a 28-year-old carpenter who had recently relocated to Bellingham from New York. While a lifelong skier, he was less familiar with the intricate, out-of-bounds terrain of Mount Baker. His day was about to intersect with Ian Steger's in a way neither could have ever imagined. The danger they were all aware of, but which is often underestimated, is a phenomenon known as a tree well. The dense, low-hanging branches of an evergreen act like an umbrella, catching the falling snow and preventing it from compacting around the base of the trunk. This creates a hidden, deep pit of loose, unconsolidated snow. To an unsuspecting skier or snowboarder, it's an invisible trap. Falling in, especially headfirst, is like being submerged in quicksand. The struggle to get out only pulls more snow down. Studies have shown that a staggering 90% of people who fall into a tree well are unable to rescue themselves. The clock starts ticking immediately, with a typical survival window of only about 15 minutes before suffocation. As Steger and his group descended through the dense trees, they followed a common practice for experienced riders. They separated, each picking their own line with the intention of regrouping further down the mountain. Steger, moving with speed and precision, carved through the deep powder. He made a sharp turn to control his momentum, and in that split second, the world fell out from under him. Soon as I made that turn, he later recounted, everything collapsed behind me. He was thrown backward, head first, into the insidious void of a tree well. He was plunged into absolute darkness and silence, buried under an estimated 6 feet of snow. The grim reality of his situation set in almost instantly. He knew the procedure. He'd done avalanche survival training years ago. Then, the crackle of the two-way radio attached to his backpack broke the silence. It was his friends, now downhill and completely unaware of his plight. He couldn't reach the button to respond. They would assume he'd passed them and was waiting further down. He remembered his close friend, Bill Camphausen, who had died in the exact same kind of accident, in the same area, just a few months prior in late 2022. Steger guessed he had been buried for over 5 minutes and accepted his fate. I was going to die on my own mountain in an area I've ridden hundreds of times, he recalled thinking. He tried to slow his breathing, wanting it to be peaceful, and waited. At that very moment, Francis Zuber was skiing through the same wooded area. He had randomly met up with a buddy on the chairlift who suggested they ski the out-of-bounds zone. Because he was now with a partner, Zuber, who wouldn't have gone alone, agreed. As he navigated a tight section of trees, moving slower than he normally would, something caught his eye. It was just like this very abstract red flash, he explained. It was out of place. A flicker of color in the monochrome landscape of white snow and dark trees. He dismissed it at first, but something compelled him to stop and look back uphill. That's when he saw it clearly, the unmistakable red base of a snowboard sticking vertically out of the snow. And then it moved. It wiggled. When I saw that there was a snowboard upside down and it was wiggling back and forth, Zuber said, that's when I knew. The euphoria of the powder day vanished, replaced by a surge of adrenaline and terror. He yelled up,
"Hey, you all right? Can you hear me?"
There was no response. He knew someone was attached to that board, buried deep, and he was their only hope. The frantic rescue that followed was captured on a GoPro camera mounted to Zuber's helmet. As soon as he stepped out of his skis to climb, he sunk chest deep into the bottomless powder. Cursing in frustration, he clawed his way uphill, an exhausting effort at that altitude. That was the scariest part, climbing up to him, he remembered. He made the critical decision to forego his shovel for the moment, knowing that time was everything. His only priority was to get to the victim's airway. He reached the board and began digging with his bare hands. Internally, I was freaking out, he admitted. It was total panic in my head for sure. After 90 seconds of frantic, bare-handed digging, he uncovered a hand, then another, and finally, Steger's face. For Ian Steger, buried in the silent, crushing dark, hearing only the sound of his own labored breathing, the first sensation was his snowboard moving. He thought he was imagining it. Then, he felt someone firmly grab the board. I was like, that can't be happening. There's no way that there's someone there, he said. And I felt that, and I knew I was going to live. The darkness suddenly lightened as Zuber's hand found his jacket and pulled it away. Out of breath himself, Zuber asked,
You okay? You all right?
Steger managed to reply. Relieved, Zuber reassured him.
We're both gonna catch our breath for a sec. I'm gonna help dig you out, okay?
The immediate danger had passed, but the ordeal wasn't over. Zuber retrieved the avalanche shovel from his pack, a critical piece of safety equipment, and began the methodical work of excavating Steger's body from the snow. The entire rescue, from Zuber spotting the board to clearing Steger's airway, took only a few minutes. But for Steger, it was an eternity. Zuber estimated Steger had been buried for 5 to 7 minutes, putting him perilously close to the halfway point of his 15-minute survival window. Once fully freed, the two strangers, uninjured but shaken, shared a long hug. Steger radioed his friends the good news. The sheer chance of the encounter was lost on no one. Steger's experienced, well-equipped group was defeated by a simple separation. It was complete chance I came across him, Zuber stated. In the weeks that followed, the story, propelled by Zuber's dramatic GoPro footage, went viral. Zuber posted it not for glory, but to raise awareness about the hidden dangers of tree wells. The event forged an unbreakable bond between the two men. They became close friends and soon returned to the slopes of Mount Baker together, riding the very same area where Steger was nearly buried. He feels forever indebted to the man who saved him. He saved my life, Ian said. That's why I want to show him everything about the town that I grew up in, every bar, every restaurant, every secret spot, so he can have the best experience possible. Their story is a powerful account of how thousands of tiny decisions, a random meeting on a chairlift, a choice to turn left instead of right, a flicker of red in the periphery, can converge in a single, miraculous instant that pulls one life back from the brink. That's it for this week's Leisure Lore. And please do us a favor and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed it. It means the world to us.